drive video. So this time I am driving an Evo 9 MR 2006 model to be exact, from Prime Driven. And so huge thanks to them for sponsoring this video. This is one of their giveaway cars. This is giveaway card number 9. They've given away MR2s in the past. They're a shop that specializes in Toyota MR2s and restoring them and building them and working on them. But they wanted to expand their appeal a little bit and give back to their customers by giving this car as a giveaway to anyone who purchases anything on their site. For every $1 that you spend, you get 1 entry towards this giveaway. And so this car, though, it's been about 6 years since I've driven an Evo 9. I did a review of one, a stock one, about, again, 6 years ago, back when I first was starting to review cars, really. And it was a blast back then. Now this one has some really nice mods to it. It's not over the top. So many Evos are crazy modified these days, and this one is really in great shape. By the way, it has 110,000 miles on it and still runs and drives great. It's still in great condition because there's just very little to it. You know, you have on the inside here, just it's bare bones. You know, you have basic gauges, a basic little radio, manual, you know, air controls, and that's it. There's no infotainment, there's no modern anything, although you do have a USB jack here in this Alpine stereo that's aftermarket. But anyway, it's all about the driving experience with the Evos. They've always have been. Even the Evo 10s, the newest ones, are fantastic, but the Evo 9 was even more smaller, lighter, even more on rails, and just even more just driver focused, and just they feel so light, so incredibly precise. It's really like a 4-door go-kart. That's the best thing I can compare this to. And so the modifications that Prime Driven has done to this one in order to you know, make it a little more appealing but without compromising reliability is really great. So they basically just did an in-gen intake and intercooler piping that helps with faster turbo spool, and then it has an HKS catback exhaust, so you still have catalytic converters, still totally good. Emissions, you know, in 50 states and everything, totally fine for all that. And that's basically it as far as the power stuff. You know, it has a Mitsubishi radiator there too as well. But you know, they just did a few basic things. Still on the stock tune, still, you know, very much, you know, not far from stock as far as power. They're saying power should be between 300 and 310 horsepower at the crank. Other things mechanical they've done to improve this. You know, you already have still the 6-speed manual in the MR versions, which is fantastic. It's just so short with the gearing. I'm currently just cruising in 4th, and it's like 3,500 RPMs just at 50 miles per hour. So I mean, it just wants to rip, and it'll go to 7,000 RPMs too, which is awesome. But anyway, so they did improve. That has an ACT lightweight flywheel, a little bit lighter, you know, nothing too drastic, and then it has an Exetti street clutch. It's like the stage 1 clutch. So good for this power level, a little beefier than stock, but without really being any heavier than the stock clutch, and still being really, really well set up for a daily driver vehicle. And that's kind of the cool thing with this, is since they've already given away MR2s in the past, this is kind of cool for someone who maybe has an MR2 for a weekend car or something, but wants something to carry around the family in, or as a better daily driver, you know, with the all-wheel drive and stuff. They can have this potentially. You know, anyone can win it, of course, but especially to give back to those customers that you know, purchase MR2 parts and all that kind of stuff. You can, of course, just buy merchandise and stuff off of their site as well if you'd like. But yeah, it's a sweet car though. So other modifications, again, they didn't do a lot, but the few things they did are really well done. So you have Megan Racing coilover springs here, and you know, suspension setup, and that feels really, really good. It's you know, not too stiff or anything. You know, the Megan Racing coilovers are usually some of the best in my experience. I don't have a ton of experience, but back in the day, they used to make some really good stuff, and I think they still do here. And you know, you definitely feel every little groove in the road, but that's kind of the Evo 9 especially experience anyway. And so this just kind of makes that even better, with even sharper handling, a little bit of a lower ride height to again help lower that center of gravity, although the MR partially does that as well with the aluminum roof and a few other things there to make it a little lighter weight. You know, you have that vortex generator there on the roof too, which is an awesome thing that the Evo started and then kind of carried on with other aftermarket companies and other tuner vehicles. But then it has XXR 527 wheels as well. well. And so those are 255 wide tires. It's on Sumitomo all-season performance tires. That's why, even though it's winter time here, we're able to have some fun on back roads because these are all-season tires, which is great. And to bring all this performance down to a stop, you have these big Brembo brakes with these drilled and slotted rotors as well, which look awesome, as well as obviously performing very, very well, especially in a car that's as light as this is. You don't need a ton of brake, honestly, but they really over-engineered these. It's a street legal rally vehicle, and so it's good with that. But a little bit of a second gear pull. I'm going to do a full throttle first gear acceleration in a minute or two here and get the full experience. But I mean, this motor is really good, where it does start to make power fairly early on. Again, we're talking about these mid-2000s turbo motors, so it's not like modern turbos where you have tons of torque down low. This, you definitely got to wait for it to spool up, but that's all part of the fun and the drama. You hear the intake and the whooshing sounds and all that kind of stuff is so fun. And then this brake too, whenever you lean on a little bit more of these Brembos, there's really no pedal travel. You just have a tiny bit and then you just kind of lean onto that. It's almost like more of a racing setup too, which is very cool. It just adds to the experience. All right, so let's turn down onto this back road here. We got a corner, but let's see how it does in first and second. It flies. It's amazing how these days we're living in now with, Hellcats and whatnot. 310 horsepower sounds measly, but in a vehicle this light, and whenever you have short gearing like this, it really comes alive. It's just so violent. You give it a little bit of gas, then you let off, and that turbo, you get the little flutter from the turbo and the shutter where you actually lurch forward and everything. It's just so much more extreme than even, again, crazy turbo stuff these days. Everything's so polished these days. This had no polish, but that's what made it fun. I mean, and it's so communicative. You have steering that is actually pretty light. It's not artificially heavy like a lot of vehicles these days. But it just is so precise. I mean, you feel like you could, have a slalom right down the middle of the road and be able to just zip in and out of it. I mean, it is so, it hugs so low to the ground too. It really is great. I'm usually not a huge fan of heavily modified vehicles, but this one had all the right mods done to it. That although the MRs could potentially become collector's items in the future, because a lot of these vehicles, like the 2004 WRX STI, those are starting to go up in value, and Haggerty even listed that as a future collectible that's going to be worth big money someday. And I think with this, it could have a similar type of situation to it. But just the light mods this one has really have improved it. And I enjoyed the stock one that I drove again many years ago, but this is just even more visceral, even more fun, again, because of all the sounds that you get. Another acceleration here. I just feel like I'm in Too Fast, Too Furious when I drive this thing. I love it. It's just fun. It's just hilarious. It's a car where you never can take yourself too seriously. You have this huge spoiler in the back. You have, the boy racer looks of the time period, the vortex generator there on the roof, and then you have all the whooshy sounds, the exhaust. But man, it is, even though it's hilarious with all the stuff and its whole personality, it's a serious performance machine, and something that, still is going to embarrass a lot of modern stuff on autocross courses and everything else. Just the simplicity and the lightness to this. It's just telepathic around corners. It really, really is. And you have this active center differential. And this one, by the way, has had that pump replaced, because apparently that's something that goes bad, because it's right there in the front bumper where it can get hit by stuff constantly. So this one has a new one of those, but that, back in the day, you could change between tarmac, gravel, and snow. And so this has that too, which really helps to make this thing handle even better than, any other competitor from the day. And it's just... It's a beast. These things have always been loved by everyone. I remember back when these first came out and everyone was obsessed with them. At that point, I was like 15, 16, and I was obsessed with them too. Of course, any of you who know me, I was more on the WRX STI side, but I also just always, respected and loved the Evos as well, because they were so similar in a lot of ways, but also a little different. This isn't quite as comfortable as, the STIs. They're a little softer in a lot of ways, can be modified to be, pretty good, much like this, but I think the Evo still has always been king. It's just the simplicity, you can't beat that. It might not be great for crash standards and all that type of stuff, but for a driver's vehicle, it's phenomenal. This thing has just cemented a grin on my face. I can't wipe it off. It's just, it's a blast. I could just do pulls all day and keep repeating myself over and over again, but I think I basically covered, you know, the magic of the Evos here, and, you know, you can go back and watch my full review on the Evo back in the day that I did. I'll include a link to that too if you'd like. You know, all kinds of little quirks in this vehicle, like the boost gauge, which is all the way down to the bottom right here, buried under the HVAC controls. Worst possible spot for a boost gauge, but just little things like that. They're just kind of funny that, you know, I also point out in my review, and so you can go watch that for more of a detailed look at a stock one if you would like. But huge thanks once again to Prime Driven for sponsoring this video and for inviting me out here to drive their Evo 9 here. It is a blast. And remember, you can win this. I'll include a link in the description below to their site where you can, again, any purchase you make on their site will get you, you know, some entries into this drawing to win this vehicle. And it's not just the vehicle. You also get $5,000 to cover the taxes, so you can actually keep the vehicle. They also ship the vehicle to you. So, you know, if you're not near New Jersey here where they're at, not a big deal. You know, that all gets taken care of. So anyone in the entire country, if you want an Evo 9, you know, this is one way you could potentially get one. And so the contest runs until March 3rd, and then they'll be probably doing another, you know, giveaway of another vehicle after that. But yeah, and then also if you have, you know, if you want to have some advice as far as your Evo, or if you want to have any kind of, you know, help or work done to your MR2, that's still their specialty. Definitely, you know, reach out to them. They'd be more than happy to help you out with whatever your tuner needs are. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on these in the comments below, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care. One more acceleration here. It just launches. All day I'll be giggling and laughing.